Here's the WIO demo board sensor part 2.
And then we're going to give it a negative. And now this sensor is on. Okay, so now we're going to take the signal lead here, and now we're going to apply it to the LED. So remember that, and that's where the LEDs come in handy, because the LEDs will show us what happens. It gives us an indication. So now let's put this here to ground. Okay, so now this sensor is now looking at light, and as long as the light's there, then the sensor or this lead has no voltage on it. So you can see it's just barely on, and that's because there's some blockage here on the light. But now if you block this entirely, now it applies the voltage. So when the train comes in, it pulls into the station, it blocks that, it sends the voltage out, and now that voltage will then trigger the transistor will close, then the current coming from the pi pico, that 3 volts, will then go to ground, and now once that occurs, then the pi pico will say, hey, somebody's here on IO1, and then that's when Rocrail will look at that message and then either turn one of the sensors LEDs on your plan on, or execute whatever command you may have set up. So now that's the way this should work, and that's what we want to happen. Now, this is what the viewer was using. The viewer that was having problems was using the Hall's effect sensor. And that's what this is. So the Hall's effect sensor has the same thing, the signal lead, then here's the negative, and then in the center is the positive lead. So now let's power up this sensor as well. So now let's take the voltage here, and now let's apply it here on the center lead. Let's give it the negative. Okay, and then now what we're going to do is the same thing. We're going to come up with the signal lead here. Let's apply it here on the LED. Complete the circuit to ground for the LED. And now you see, as soon as I complete the circuit, now you can see it powers on, and then now we have voltage here, and the LED is showing us that there's voltage. So now this Hall sensor works with a magnetic field. When the magnetic field hits this the sensor itself, then what it's going to do is to conduct and send out power. So let's say, for example, a train comes in, and as the train comes in, it will then, the magnetic field will trigger this sensor, and notice what happens. The LED goes out because it removed power. And now this is backwards of what we want, is because now you see the train comes in, and when the train comes in, then the LED goes off. So now from the perspective of the pi pico and going back to Rocrail, this right now shows, hey, something's on the track. And because it's idled, it's showing voltage on the signal lead on idle. And that's not what we want. We want opposite. Now, in the Rocrail's configuration, you can set this up to be opposite, and meaning that when it's active, that means it's inactive, and you can swap it. But the problem is, when you have this sensor set up in this manner, then all of the sensors are going to be on, and it's going to be constantly drawing power from the pi pico. And you don't want that. You want it to be idle and off on idle. So, and that's part of what this one of the viewers was having this situation here. But he made a point and he asked a question: why did I use the Darlington array? So that means that he doesn't have a transistor set up. So that means he has voltage here that's coming from the sensor. And now if he set this up like with the sensor here, let's say for example this, and now he's applying this voltage to this lead. This is the 3 volts or 5 volts or whatever, and that means nothing to the nothing to the Pi Pico. The Pi Pico wants to see ground so this can flow just like the LED. So it sees a current flow, then it says it's active. So that's why he's not getting anything, because he's only applying voltage. And now you need the voltage to switch a device that will switch to ground. And that's where the transistor comes into play. So this is kind of the basis of the sensor, and actually the sensor is probably the most critical point or element, because without the sensor nothing's going to work. And there's also something to note is that there are some of these sensors that actually work, and this is the photoresistor. It actually works similar to this, where on idle or when it's light, it's actually sending out voltage, and that's what you don't want. You want it opposite. So that's why you got to make sure that you get the right sensors if you're going to set up in this configuration. Now, there are other means of setting it up, but I found that this was the easiest. So hopefully this helps you guys out, and you can pose up questions or whatnot if you run into trouble, and then I'll try to do the same thing to rectify it. But like I said before, this is a really, really good system, and it's worth the effort of going in, setting one up, because now you can build your own I/O, whenever you want to, versus going out and spending another $40 or $50 for it. And after a while, when you get all the components together, it's absolutely nothing to kind of build upon it. And that was another thing, and what I'll talk about when I finish the build on the wiki demo plan, that whole layout, because I want to set the stations up using 3 sensors instead of 1. So, or I'm sorry, 3 sensors instead of 2, and that's the way that wiki demo is set up. And Rocrail will go in and set that up. Whichever way you want, but ideally you need 3 sensors, one that look at the train as it comes into the station, and then one where it stops in station, and then the third sensor that detecting that it's leaving the station. And that's why you can set it up with the 3 sensors like that. As soon as the first sensor's triggered, it says, hey, whatever train's coming in on platform 5, and then when it stops, then you can have it do whatever, but then when it leaves, then it can go in and make whatever sound or whatever saying that it's leaving. So, in any case, this is probably the best thing that I've seen in a while. And as soon as I saw the basis of it, I said, this is great. So that's why I put the video out. So hopefully you guys will subscribe, like, and share, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.